Chapter 33. Raynor stood, pacing. "What is going on?" he asked. "It is noisy. There is fire." The orange light glowing through the window was bright enough that we could see each other. Is the building burning down? Would they burn the building down too? Maybe. Would they let him out first? "We're leaving." He nodded. What happens to you now?" I asked. "I should ask you. What happens to me? I don't know." Raynor looked at my face. "Why have you come to see me? I hope, no matter what happens, when you think of surrenders, you think of me." "I will, Mathilde, but I do not want you to remember me and all the things I said to you, the things I've done." "I will remember this." I pointed to the blue painting. "That's how I'll remember you." He nodded. "Take it with you." I folded it and put it into my coat with the other papers. "I hope you get back what's in the painting one day." "Not me," he said, "but you. You might have your own beautiful blue world. You will build it yourself." A lump rose in my throat. "Thank you, Mathilde." "For what?" "For saying goodbye." I was running out of time. I needed to catch up. If it was treason to talk about Sofran falling, then what I was considering certainly was. But what would happen to Raynor? Would they let him starve, shoot him, or would it be even worse if he was handed back to his own people? His capture was dishonorable. He didn't have a home anymore. Raynor had no weapons, but he could find some. He could hurt us, or he could collect information and send it home, but he could complete his mission in Soferend. But how upset he was about the school. That meant something, didn't it? I pulled my hand from my coat's outer pocket and held up the clippers I'd stolen from the garden shed. Raynor stared at me. "Promise me." He nodded. "Promise me you won't hurt anyone. Not me, not my family, not my country. Nobody." "I promise, Mathilde." But this was war. Lying was a big part of it. I thought again of what Mother had told me about protecting people. She would understand why I had to do this. I didn't think Raynor wanted to hurt anyone ever again. I would have to trust him. This was the world I was building, where people didn't think only of the people they loved, but of others too. I bent and clipped a big square out of the wires. I pulled the fencing away and crawled through the gap far enough to hand the clippers over to Raynor. Our hands touched for the first time, and I met his eyes. "Don't forget, you promised." "My word, Mathilde." "I have to go," I said. "Be careful. There are people everywhere." I unlocked the door and dropped the key. I paused, remembering. I had one more stop to make. The hallway of bedrooms was deserted. In my room, I took down the handprints painting, folded it, and put it in my inner coat pocket with all the other papers. My stomach clenched. I was going even farther away from my sisters, and they might soon be in trouble. I couldn't tell them. "They're counting on you to get us through this. That's their hope. That's what all of this has been for." I made my way to the northern gate and ran through when no one was looking. I couldn't ask for help. The proctors would ask what I had been doing, and when they found out about Raynor, please, 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 let that have been the right thing to do. I was a traitor to my country now. I couldn't pretend I wasn't. Catch up, and look like you've never been separated." As I pressed on through the darkness, I strained my ears for the group. They must have been told to keep quiet. The sounds of 80 feet should have given them away, but I didn't even hear that. I was afraid to call out after them, so I reached for Megs. "Megs! Megs!" I let out a breath. I paused, closed my eyes, felt for her instead. My dearest friend walking beside me, through the streets of Lickalig, whole as they used to be, then bombed and broken, through the woods we loved, through these woods now. My dearest friend, with long dark braids chopped short. I caught my breath as my eyes opened. Megs would know I went to Raynor. Would she guess what I'd done? Would she see it the way I did? I stopped calling her, or maybe she wasn't listening for me. I kept walking, but my legs ached. The familiar rumble started up in the sky and quickly became a roar. I jumped against a thick tree trunk, peering through the leaves for the lights, the color on the wings, tiger stripes. But then, zooming from the other direction, came our own aerials, shooting at Tissia's, lighting the sky with streaks of white, bursts of red, explosions. My hands covered my ears. Aerials fell out of the sky. Would anyone survive these crashes? Would we have more Tissian prisoners like Raynor, or would we be the prisoners? I kept going. In the dark, flames and smoke rose ahead of me. My group wouldn't set such a fire. I waited as the flames lessened and the smoke grew. Though minutes were passing, maybe it was the enemy out there. Maybe it was Sophorenders who needed my help or could help me. When all was still, I crept forward. It was a downed Ariel. The smell was atrocious, like things that should never have been burnt. I covered my nose with my coat sleeve. "Hello," I called. Nothing stirred. I crept closer. The great Ariel, at once bigger and smaller than I had expected, was a mangled shell. Even its markings were burnt off. This was Raynor's nightmare. My nightmare. It didn't matter if it was us or them. We are all the same. We were all the same. We were all the enemy. We were all the victims. We were all dead. I stumbled away. "You have to get to Eileen. Get to the train by morning, or you may be a prisoner yourself. A prisoner, or on trial for treason. It doesn't matter if Sophorend wins. You're dead either way. You have to get to Eileen." I repeated the directions, kept moving, but my brain was slipping, my feet unsteady. I found a patch of soft moss between a tree and curled up.